CBC News has uncovered new details this morning about the investigation into the deadly shootings in Nova Scotia last month. Internal emails show local police forces were warned years ago that the gunman wanted to kill a police officer. But the RCMP say that information was not available during the attack last month. Elizabeth McMillan has the details in Halifax for us today. Elizabeth, what has your reporting discovered?
Well, Heather, we obtained a copy of a 2011 bulletin that was sent to policing agencies across Nova Scotia. It came from information that a police officer in Truro received. The name of the source isn't named in the document. Now, Truro is about 40 kilometers from Portapique, but Truro police don't cover that area. And it was about the denturist who went on the shooting rampage last month. So the tipster described that this man was under a lot of stress, that he maybe was having mental health issues, and that he stated he wanted to kill a cop. The tipster said that he had lots of guns, that he potentially carried a handgun when he traveled between his office in Dartmouth and his cottage in Portapique, and that he had several rifles at his cottage. So the Truro police passed along this information, wrote up a bulletin that we obtained, and they felt that it was important enough to share with other policing agencies in the province. And I spoke with Truro Police Chief Dave McNeil about this.
Well, officer safety bulletins are very serious in the policing world, of course. They're not issued all the time. They're only issued, for very serious matters. In this case, there was a mention of firearms being transported and stored. Also, the gentleman didn't like police and made some inferences that he wanted to do harm to police. So that's a community safety issue and an officer safety issue. So those are taken very seriously.
And that was Chief Dave McNeil of the Truro Police Service. Heather?
Where then did that leave the RCMP, Elizabeth? What are they saying now about what they knew at the time the shooting was going on in Portapique and the neighboring communities?
Well, I spoke with Corporal Jennifer Clark, who speaks for the RCMP, and she says that officers who were responding did not have access to that bulletin. She says typically they're only stored in the system for about 2 years. So during that shooting rampage, they didn't have access to that information. But we do know that 9 years ago, they did have access to it, and that it was circulated to them. Back in 2011, RCMP officer was in touch with someone from Truro Police about the specifics, about the type of car the denturist may have been driving, about the details of the tip. And we know from Halifax Regional Police that they looked into it. Of course, he worked in Dartmouth, so that was their jurisdiction. So they investigated, and we've also learned they investigated a previous allegation that the shooter had threatened to kill his parents. Halifax Regional Police say they looked into that. There was not enough evidence to lay charges. That was in 2010. The following year, this new information came to a Truro police officer. Halifax Regional Police say they looked at it again. They determined that there were no guns in Dartmouth, but they say that references to weapons and firearms related to the denturist's cottage in Portapique. So they say they refer that matter back to RCMP. Now, this week, RCMP couldn't give me any information about what, if anything, was done at the time, or what, if any, difference that type of bulletin would have made when they were responding to the rampage. Here's Corporal Jennifer Clark.
I don't know what was done or what wasn't done at the time. I can tell you we didn't author the bulletin, and the principal residence, I believe at the time, was not in our jurisdiction. That's what I can tell you. Our officers did have the information at the time. However, on April 19th, we did not have that piece of information because the bulletin was not available to us.
Now, while RCMP say they didn't have that information, other police forces in the province had held on to it. Amherst police officer, which is about 90 kilometers from Portapique, said they remembered the person's name, the suspect's name. They remembered this tip. They dug it out of their emails. They say they passed along, the Amherst police chief say they passed along that information to RCMP at some point on April 19th. But again, we don't know exactly when that information got across or what, if anything, it would have changed in terms of the RCMP's approach when they were responding.
Elizabeth, thank you very much. Strong reporting, and good to have you with us this morning from Halifax.
Thanks, Heather.
That is Elizabeth McMillan.